The drama triangle may be where you're at. Okay, this is going to cut deep, but listen to me, Linda, listen to me. The first step in overcoming a problem is first admitting you have a problem. And I discovered this in my personal life several years ago, and I think this is going to be a discovery that some of you guys make for the first time today, and it might set you free. All right, let's jump right into this clip. Check this out.
To help us understand how conflict arises between
Turn this up.
people.
Shout out to my man CP, the artist, for sending me this. All right.
This is a model to help us understand how conflict arises between people, often in dramatic or intense relationships or interactions. And it was conceived by a guy called Stephen Cartman in 1968. And it involves 3 different roles. One that's kind of called a one-down role, and 2 that are called one-up roles. These 3 roles are the victim, the rescuer, and the persecutor. And I think understanding how these roles work can really help us to identify how we could be resolving potentially destructive interactions that are quite draining on our energy. So let's start with the victim role. And I think the victim role is quite self-explanatory. It's the person who feels helpless.
So this is talking about the drama triangle, and this is specifically pointing out to something called codependency. Now, why is this important? Because a lot of you guys are followers of Jesus, okay? And those of us that are followers of Jesus tend to think we have our issues figured out. We think we have our things settled. And so what happens is you start following into the rescuer.
Another role in this drama triangle is the rescuer. And this person is someone who takes responsibility for other people's problems, and they kind of make it their own problem. But at the same time, they don't really look at their own life, which could in fact be a complete mess. And they'll see people who might be going through a difficult time and think, oh, look at that person. You know, they need help. I'm nice, so I'll help them. Or maybe something a bit more parental, like if that person did what I said, they'd be happy.
This is someone that is this is called a savior complex. There's somebody that got the Messiah complex. They think they're going to save everybody, right? And so when you get saved, you start wanting to save other people, not understanding that you are not anyone's redeemer. You are not anyone's savior. Kendrick told y'all he is not your savior. All right? Go ahead.
And I think the dynamic that we often see play out between the victim and the rescuer is something that we see in movies and, you know, romantic comedies all the time. It's something that we almost think is normal, but it really is an unhealthy interaction. So the third...
You see it in romantic comedies, you think it's normal, but it is not normal, all right? And this is... Another way to describe this is you're trying to fix people. Now, here's the thing. The rescuer and the victim need each other. They have a codependent relationship. It's symbiotic. One person needs to be rescued. The other people needs to feel like he's doing the rescuing. This is
a sickness. The highest order.
Go ahead and play it.
Third role in this triangle is the persecutor. This is a person who is frustrated. They're kind of self-righteous and a bit of a bully. You know, and they might think things like, you know, they're wrong and I'm right and they need to do what I say. Or that person will get what's coming to them. Another thing that's really important to recognize about this triangle is that each of these roles move between each other. So, you know, the rescuer can become the persecutor, or the persecutor can become the victim. Or the victim can become the persecutor. So they all kind of move around. So let's take it by looking at each role again. So in the one-down victim role, we need to become a survivor. In order to do this, we need to think like a problem solver and ask ourselves questions like, what do I want? And what steps can I take to get what I want?
Hey, you want to see something kind of crazy? Over 75% of the people that watch this channel are not subscribed. Please consider subscribing and turning your bell notification on so that you don't miss anything we have going here. All right? Peace.
Another useful thing to do is to reflect on the good things that are going our way. So
she said go from a victim role to survivor, right? And if you think about people, we talked about going full circle to the conversation we had about little ones that are moved around. I can't say the word, but folks that overcome SA are called survivors, right? We don't say victims, we say survivors. And so the more you can see yourself as someone that survived or overcame something, and less see yourself as a victim that something was done to, the more your own psychological state is going to improve. Wow.
We can make a note of it in a calendar or a diary. You know, ask ourselves questions.
This is why prayer journals are important. This is why prayer journals are important. A lot of you guys are praying kind of throwing up random things, forgetting about what you prayed for. But when you start documenting the things you're praying for, when you start writing out, hey, I'm praying for X, Y, and Z to happen. And then you go back a year from then and see God actually does X, Y, and Z in your life, right? It's important to document. I mean, how much of the Old Testament is God just reminding the children of Israel, I am the God of Abraham. I am the God of Moses, right? I took you out of the land.
Yeah.
I did this for you. We are so quick to forget. And so just documenting the things that are going on that God is for you will oftentimes remind you of that. And so I kept a prayer journal for a very long time, and it was one of the most helpful things I've done.
Like, what are 3 things that I'm grateful for today?
Yes.
Or at the end of each week, we could ask ourselves, what did I achieve this week? So let's move on to the rescuer role again. If this is where you tend to find yourself sitting, you need to think of yourself as a teacher or a coach rather than as a rescuer. You need to remember the golden rule about teaching a man to fish.
Pause it. This is why I scaled over. This is why I am not a great guy to sit there and counsel people. The way I tried to do it, it didn't work. It was not helpful because I couldn't switch. And the more boundaries I built, the better of a teacher I became, the better of a coach I became, and less of a rescuer. I got to fix everybody's problems, right?
You need to support and encourage the person in ways to identify and solve their problems, rather than rushing in to solve it for them. You can ask them things like, what is it that you want to see happen in this situation?
Yes.
Or what do you think you can do to change this? Also, you need to make sure that you set boundaries. Setting boundaries around the time that you're able to listen to the person and letting them know that is really important. In some ways, it's a similar situation with the starting gate persecutor, who, like the rescuer, puts themselves in this sort of one-up powerful position. The difference is, with this role, is that you need to become a challenger. You need to be firm but fair in your approach to people. And to help the person recognize how you're feeling, you need to sort of address the consequences of their actions and set boundaries. So, for instance, you could say something like, if you keep your side of the agreement, I can keep mine. As with the rescuer, it's important to remember to set these boundaries and recognize that this isn't your problem to solve.
That's good. Shout out to Tom. He said something really good in the chat. He said, rescuers need to point people to Jesus, not themselves. Rescuers need to always be pointing people to Jesus and not themselves. And she said in that video that the persecutor needs to be a challenger, a helpful challenger, right? And so, yeah, survivor, teacher, challenger. Which one are you? Okay. And well, or rather yet, which one do you need to become? Survivor, teacher, challenger, and where do you flow? I've definitely been codependent in more ways than one, and it's costed me a lot, both personally and professionally. And so the more I moved away from needing to fix people and needing to save people and moved towards becoming more of a teacher and more of a coach, the better it's been for everyone involved in the process. So anyway, hopefully that was helpful to you. I think this spoke to a lot of people.
I agree.
I think there's a lot of people right here in this chat super convicted right now.
Hey, this is a segment from our daily after party stream. Consider partnering with us online for as little as $5 a month to get access to these daily after party streams completely unedited. You'll also get access to our podcast as they are streamed live into the community before anyone else gets to see them, get to interact with our guests, get access to our private Discord server, and a discount code for our store for as little as $5 a month. Ultimately, that will help towards helping us continue contextualizing the gospel using media and podcast here on YouTube. All right, I'll see you over there. Peace.